My name is Greg, and I had an experience recently. I kept hoping it was just a nightmare, but it turned out to be very real. It all started with my classmate Dusty. He's the reason that I'm here. We always had a complicated relationship. We didn't dig at each other, but we always made fun of each other, and it was all in good fun. But one time, we got in a big fight. There was a lot going on. And even the police got involved and arrested me, suspecting me of killing Dustin. That's when the ground fell from under my feet. But first things first. Dusty and I didn't like each other from the very start. We were both freshmen in elementary school and we were already getting into it. This was a blonde guy, and the weirdest thing was that he thought the same thing about me. So, in spite of our mutual distaste for one another, we studied together, went to school every day, grew up together, and went on to high school. And the older we got, the harder and more serious our fights got. So that day, we had another fight together. The guys and I split into two teams. Dustin and I were on the same basketball team. The game was going well. We were competing against students from another school. Our team was losing. We were on a roll, so we just got in each other's hot hand with Dustin. We started an argument right in the court. The scolding turned into a fight in front of everyone. They were hitting each other like the real enemy. It was like all our anger and aggression was let out on each other. The referee and teachers tried to separate us, but nothing worked. We just clung to each other more tightly. But then my girlfriend Dina ran up and I left. Dina was crying and washing my face. It was already covered in bruises. I don't know what came over me, but I couldn't control myself. Anyway, after the fight, I said goodbye to Dina and decided to walk. I accidentally wandered into a very unnatural place. I found something like a clearing and there was not a soul there. Felt so good, so easy. I sat there for 3 hours, wondering why Dustin and I hated each other so much, and then decided to call to apologize. I called and I kept calling, but he just didn't answer. So I went home and it was almost morning. My mom was awake at this point. She was sitting in the garden with a cup of coffee. She's a writer, so she chooses her own schedule of work. "Oh my God, honey. What happened to you? Where have you been all night?" she asked. All I said was that I was fine, asked her to save the conversation for later, and went to bed. The next morning when I came to school, everyone was looking at me weird. I thought about it and it was probably because of yesterday's fight. Then the sheriff came up to me. He called me over and I went to the principal's office. They asked me where I was between 3 and 4 a.m. yesterday. I told them the truth, that I was out for a walk. "Can anybody verify that, son?" the sheriff said. But I told the truth. I was alone. "What happened?" I asked. And then a transparent bag was handed to me, with Dustin's t-shirt all drenched in blood, his shoe, his phone, and the watch he never took off lying next to it. "I'm afraid I have some bad news for you," the sheriff said. And I knew something terrible must have happened. They took me to the station almost immediately and handcuffed me. I refused to say anything in my defense because I knew that everyone was going to be used against me. They took me in like I was some kind of murderer. My mom came in running to the station. She was alarmed. We had a lawyer sitting next to me. I was suspected of killing Dustin Bailey. My alibi was unreliable because no one could confirm it, because I was alone. His things were found in the morning not far from where I had been sitting almost morning. They found my shoe marks there, and my notebook with my name on it. It had fallen out when I took the bag. Dustin's things were lying in the dirt, and the ground was so loose as if we'd fought to the death. The police were unresponsive to my right, and the lawyer had very little argument. Everything was happening like a dream. Eventually, they tried to shake it out of me, where I hid the body or what happened, but I just didn't know. I never did it. I wasn't there. "Just admit you had an argument. You got mad and you got into a fight. The video of the fight of the game is all around the internet. You can clearly see your aggression there. Even your girlfriend claims that she was with you, but you said otherwise. Explain that she will go to jail without your perjury," said the sheriff. "No, I was alone," I said, and the sheriff continued. He said that I'd left school after the fight and found the perfect crime scene, away from town, called Dustin, but he didn't pick up. So I found him and beat him up again and brought him here somehow. Then I beat him there and got rid of the body. "All the evidence is against you, son. Tell us where the body is and maybe we'll lower your sentence," he told me. "Are you crazy? What kind of sentence? I didn't kill him," I snapped. My lawyer tried to calm me down, but I got worked up again. Dustin's mom burst into the interrogation room. She jumped on me, started hitting me and crying, saying that I was the killer. They barely took her away. Another week later, I was charged with murder. It wasn't fair, because they hadn't found the body, but nobody listened to me. My family was so terrified of what was happening, even my mother couldn't believe what I was saying anymore. That was it. My life was over. I felt like a real criminal. I said goodbye to my family, and despite the injustice, only Dina believed me. She promised to sort things out, and in the meantime, I was getting used to the cell life. It was all a nightmare. I was treated like a real criminal. My parents' hands were down, my spirit was broken. I lived such a horrible life for about 2 weeks, but it seemed like an eternity has passed. And when there was no hope left, Dina came to see me. I didn't want her to see me like this. I greeted her coldly, as I always did. But despite this, she wouldn't give up. She believed me, and she was the only one who kept her word. Who would have thought? But my girlfriend managed to catch a lead. Somehow, with the help of my brother's friends, she found out that Dustin had run some information on fake passports. This led her to think that he might have gone somewhere. Then, she found out earlier that he'd been selling some things. A guitar, even clothes, that is, raising money. And then she sneaked into his house, into his room, and found a little book among his things. It was inconspicuous, but inside was a valuable piece of information. The name of the city, ticket prices, and someone's phone number. She called there and some girl answered the phone. Dina pretended to know about Dustin's account, and luckily, we got more information. That girl cried and said that she didn't want to see him anymore. Supposedly, he had used her and dumped her. She also said that he had come to her place a week ago to spend the night, and he had run away the next morning. This conversation was recorded on a tape recorder as further evidence against my case. Dina's friends and brother drove to the town where Dustin supposedly lived. It took about 4 days to find him. He was well hidden, but the money was the info doing its job. We were rattled out to him by the local homeless. They said that he was hanging around here, but his name was Brooklyn. When he saw Dina's brother, he tried to run away, but the guys videotaped everything. They caught him and told him like it was, that an innocent man was in jail because of his staged death. Dustin didn't believe it at first, and then he said that he was sorry it happened that way, that he didn't mean it. He said that he only wanted to run away from home because of a difficult relationship with his parents. He refused to go with them, but the video was enough. This evidence helped revise the case. I was cleared of all charges, and the day I was released, the press was waiting outside. I couldn't believe my luck. I thanked the guys and Dina for saving my life. A day later, Dustin's parents came to our house. My mom yelled at them, wanted to kick them out, but they begged forgiveness for their horrible mistake. Dustin came after them, and he apologized to me too. I wanted to just attack him first, but I didn't. After all, I had just gotten out of prison. Dustin promised never to hurt me again, and they also said that they'd leave town for good. And as for me, I got exonerated, and I started another life with a clean reputation. If you liked the video, then please leave a like and comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe.